Hello everyone. Today we are going to study Unit 8 Biology in Human Welfare. These consist two chapters, Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. Chapter 7 deals with human health and disease. Chapter 8 deals with microbes in human welfare. Biology is the youngest of the formalized disciplines of natural science. Progress in physics and chemistry proceeded much faster than in biology. Applications of physics and chemistry in our daily life also have a higher visibility than those of biology. However, 20th century and certainly 21st century has demonstrated the utility of biological knowledge in furthering human welfare, be it in health sector or agriculture. The discovery of antibiotics and synthetic plant derived drugs and aesthetics have changed medical practice on one hand and human health on the other hand. Expectancy of human beings have dramatically changed over the years. Agricultural practices, food processing, and diagnostics have brought social cultural changes in human communities. These are briefly described in the following three chapters of this unit. Born in August 1925 in Kumbakonam in Tamil Nadu, Monakambu Samba Sivan Swaminathan did his graduation and post graduation in botany from Madras University. He worked in different capacities in large number of institutions in India and abroad and developed his expertise in genetics and plant breeding. The School of Cytogenetics and Radiation Research, established at the Indian Agricultural Research Institute IARI, enabled Swaminathan and his team to develop short duration, high yielding varieties of rice, including scented basamti. He is also known for the development of the concept of crop cafeteria, crop scheduling, and genetically improving the yield and quality. Swaminathan initiated collaboration with the Norman Borlaug, which culminated in the Greek Green Revolution through introduction of Mexican varieties of wheat in India. This was highly recognized and appreciated. He is also the initiator of Lab to Land, food security, and several other environmental programs. He has been honored with Padma Bhushan and several other prestigious award, medal, and fellowship by Institution of Excellence. Chapter 7: Human Health and Disease. Health for a long time was considered as a safety of body and mind, where there was balance of certain humor. This is what early Greeks called Hippocrates, as well as Indian Ayurveda system of medicine asserted. It was thought that person with black bile belonged to hot personality and would have fevers. This idea was arrived at a pure reflective thought. The discovery of blood circulation by William Harvey using experimental method and the demonstrations of normal body temperature in persons with black bile using thermometer disproved good humor hypothesis for health. In later years, biology stated that mind influences through neural system and endocrine system, our immune system, and that our immune systems maintains our health. Hence, mind and mental health state can affect our health. Of course, health is affected by genetic disorders, deficiencies with which a child is born, and deficiencies or defects which the child inherits from parents from birth. Second, infections, and third, life cycle. Lifestyle, including food and water we take, rest and exercise we give to our bodies, habits that we have or lack, etc. The term health is very frequently used by everyone. How do we define it? Health does not simply mean absence of disease or physical fitness. It could be defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being. When people are healthy, they are more efficient at work. This increases productivity and brings economic prosperity. Health also increasing longevity of people and reduces infant and maternal mortality. Balanced diet, personal hygiene, and regular exercise are very important to maintain good health. Yoga has been practiced since time immemorial to achieve physical and mental health. Awareness about diseases and their effect on different body function, vaccination against infectious diseases, proper disposal of wastes, control of vectors, and maintenance of hygiene in food and water resources are necessary for achieving good health. When the functioning of one or more organs of system of the body is adversely affected, characterized characterized by appearance of various signs and symptoms. We say that we are not healthy, it means we have a disease. Diseases can be broadly grouped into infectious and non-infectious. Diseases which can be easily transmitted from one person to another are called infectious diseases. Infection diseases are very common and very everyone of us suffer from these at some time or other. Some of the infectious diseases like AIDS are fatal. Among non-infectious diseases, cancer is a major cause of death. Drug and alcohol abuse also affect our health adversely. Common diseases in humans. A wide range of organisms belonging to bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, helminths, etc. could cause a disease in man. Such disease-causing organisms are called pathogens. Most parasites are therefore pathogens as they cause harm to the host by living in them. The pathogen can enter our body by various means, multiply and interfere with normal vital activities, resulting in morphological and functional damage. Pathogens have to adapt to life within the environment of the host. For example, the pathogens that enter the gut must know a way of surviving in the stomach at low pH and resisting the various digestive enzymes. A few representative members from different groups of pathogenic organisms are discussed here along with the diseases caused by them. Preventive and control measures against these diseases in general are also briefly described. Salmonella typhi is a pathogenic bacterium which causes typhoid fever in human beings. These pathogens generally enter the small intestine through food and water contaminated with them and migrate to other organs through blood. Sustained high fever 39 degrees 40 degrees Celsius, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and loss of appetite are some of the common symptoms of this disease. In, intest, intense, intestinal perforation and death may occur in several cases. Typhoid fever could be confirmed by Vidal test and by Vidal test. A classic case in medicine that of Mary Mallon, nicknamed Typhoid Mary, which is worth mentioning here. She was a cook by profession and was a typhoid carrier who continued to spread typhoid for several years through the food she prepared. Bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae are responsible for the disease pneumonia in humans, which infect the alveoli of the lungs. As a result of the infection, the alveoli get filled with fluid, leading to severe problems in respiration. The symptoms get filled with fluid, leading to severe problems in respiration. The symptoms of pneumonia include fever, chills, cough, and headache. In several cases, the lips and fingernails may turn gray to bluish in color. A healthy person acquires the infection by inhaling the droplets or aerosols released by an infected person or even by sharing glasses and utensils with an infected person. Dysentery, plague, diphtheria, etc. are some of the other bacterial diseases in man. Many viruses also cause disease in human beings. Rhinoviruses represent one such group of viruses which cause one of the most infectious human element, the common cold. The infect the nose and respiratory passages but not the lungs. The common cold is characterized by nasal congestion, discharge, sore throat, hoarseness, cough, headache, tiredness, etc., which usually lasts for 3 to 7 days. Droplet resulting from cough or sneezes of an infected person are either inhaled directly or transmitted through contaminated objects such as pens, books, cups, and doorknobs. Computer, keyboard, or mouse, etc., can and cause infection in a healthy person. Some of the human diseases are caused by protozoans too. You might have heard about malaria, a disease man has been fighting since many years. Plasmodium, a tiny protozoa, is responsible for this disease. Different species of Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum, are responsible for different types of malaria. Of these, malignant malaria caused by Plasmodium falciparum is the most serious one and can even be fatal. Let us take a glance at the life cycle of Plasmodium. Plasmodium enter the human body as sporozoites, infectious form, through the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. The parasite initially multiply within the liver cells and then attack the red blood cells, RBCs, resulting in their rupture. The rupture of RBCs is associated with the release of toxic substances, hemozoin, which is responsible for the chill and high fever recurring every 3 to 4 days. When a female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, these parasites enter the mosquito's body and undergo further development. The parasites multiply within them to form sporozoites that are stored in their salivary glands. When these mosquitoes bite a human, the sporozoites are introduced into his or her body, thereby initiating the events mentioned above. It is interesting to note that the malarial parasite requires two hosts, human and mosquitoes, to complete its life cycle. The female Anopheles mosquito is a vector, transmitting agent too. When the mosquito bites another human, sporozoites are infected with the bite. Parasites reach the liver through blood. The parasite reproduce sexually in their liver cell, bursting the cell, releasing into the blood. Parasite reproduce asexually in red blood cell, bursting the red blood cell and causing cycle of fever and other symptoms. Released parasites infect new red blood cell. Sexual stages. Gametocytes develop in red blood cell. Female mosquito takes up gametocytes. Fertilization and development takes place in the mosquito gut. Mature in mature infective stages escape from gut and migrate to the mosquito's salivary glands. Then the cycle repeats. Entamoeba histolytica is a protozoan parasite in the large intestine of human which causes amoebiasis, amoebic dysentery. Symptoms of this disease include constipation, abdominal pain, and cramps. Stools with excess mucus and blood clots. Houseflies act as mechanical carriers and serve to transmit the parasite from feces of infected person to food and food products, thereby contaminating them. Drinking water and food contaminated by the fecal matter are the main source of infection. Ascaris, the common roundworm or Wucheria, the filarial worm, are some of the helminths which are known to be pathogenic to man. Ascaris, an intestinal parasite, causes ascariasis. Symptoms of this disease include internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of the intestinal passage. The eggs of parasite are excreted along with the feces of infected person which contaminate soil, water, plants, etc. A healthy person acquires this infection through contaminated water, vegetable, fruit, etc. Wucheria. The filarial worms cause a slowly developing chronic inflammation of the organs in which they live for many years. Usually, the lymphatic vessel of the lower limb, and the disease is called elephantiasis or filariasis. The genital organ are also often affected, resulting in gross deformities. The pathogens are transmitted to a healthy person through the bite by the female mosquito vectors. Many fungi belonging to genera Microsporum, Trichophyton and Dermophyton are responsible for ringworms, which is one of the most common infectious diseases in man. Appearance of dry, scaly lesions on various parts of the body, such as skin, nails, and scalp, are the main symptoms of the disease. These lesions are accompanied by intense itching. Heat and moisture help these fungi to grow, which makes them thrive in skin folds such as those in the groin or between the toes. Ringworms are generally acquired from soil or by using towels, cloths, or even the comb of infected individuals. Maintenance of personal and public hygiene is very important for prevention and control of many infectious diseases. Measures for personal hygiene include keeping the body clean, consumption of clean drinking water, food, vegetables, fruits, etc. Public hygiene includes proper disposal of waste and excreta, periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools, cesspools, and tanks, and observing standard practices of hygiene in public catering. These measures are particularly essential where the infectious agents are transmitted through food and water, such as typhoid, amoebiasis, and ascariasis. In case of airborne diseases such as pneumonia and common cold, in addition to the above measures, close contact with the infected person or their belongings should be avoided. For diseases such as malaria and filariasis that are transmitted through insect vectors, the most important measure is to control or eliminate the vectors and their breeding places. This can be achieved by avoiding stagnation of water in and around residential areas, regular cleaning of household coolers, use of mosquito nets, introducing fishes like gambusia in ponds that feed on mosquito larvae, spraying of insecticides in ditches, drainage areas, and swamps, etc. In addition, doors and windows should be provided with wire mesh to prevent the entry of mosquitoes. Such precautions have become more important, especially in the light of recent widespread incidences of the vector-borne Aedes mosquito diseases like dengue and chikungunya in many parts of India. The advancements made in biological science have armed us to effectively deal with many infectious diseases. The use of vaccines and immunization programs have enabled us to completely eradicate a deadly disease like smallpox. A large number of other infectious diseases like polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, and tetanus have been controlled to a large extent by the use of vaccines. Biotechnology, about which we will read in more in chapter 10, is at the verge of making available newer and safer vaccines. Discovery of Discovery of antibiotics and various other drugs have also enabled us to effectively treat infectious diseases. Immunity. Every day we are exposed to a large number of infectious agents. However, only a few of these exposures result in disease. Why? This is due to the fact that the body is able to defend itself from most of these foreign agents. This overall ability to the host to fight disease causing organism conferred by the immune system is called immunity. Immunity is of two types: innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity. Innate immunity is a non-specific type of defense that is present at the time of birth. This is accomplished by providing different type of barriers of the entry of foreign agent into our body. Innate immunity consists of four type of barriers. These are physical barrier, physiological barriers, cellular barriers, cytokine barriers. Physical barriers. Skin on our body is a main barrier which prevents entry of the microorganism. Mucus coating of the epithelium lining the respiratory, gastrointestinal, and urogenital tract also help in trapping microbes entering our body. Physiological barriers. Acid in the stomach, saliva in mouth, tears from eyes all prevent microbial growth. Cellular barriers. Certain type of leukocytes of our body like polymorphonuclear leukocytes and monocytes are natural killer in the blood as well as macrophages in tissue can phagocyte and destroy microbes. Cytokine barriers. Virus infected cells secrete proteins called interferons, which protect non infected cells from further viral infection. Then we are going to study acquired immunity. Then the next heading is active or passive immunity, vaccination and immunization, allergies, autoimmunity, immune system in the body, then AIDS. Acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, on the other hand, is pathogen specific. It is This means when our body encounters a pathogen for the first time, it produces a response called primary response, which is of low intensity. Subsequent encounter with the same pathogen elicits a highly intensified secondary or an amnestic response. This is ascribed to the fact that our body appears to have memory of the first encounter. The primary and secondary immune responses are carried out with the help of two special types of lymphocytes present in our blood. It means B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes produce an army of protein in response to pathogen into the blood to fight with them. These proteins are called antibodies. The T cells themselves do not secrete antibodies but help B cell to produce them. Each antibody molecule has four peptide chains, two small called light chains and two longer called heavy chains. Hence, an antibody is represented as 2L2. Different types of antibodies are produced in our body. IgA, IgM, IgE, IgG are some of them. A cartoon of antibody given in this figure 7.4, because these antibodies are formed in the blood and the response is also called as humoral immune response. This is one of the two types of our acquired immune response, antibody mediated. The second type is called cell mediated immune response or cell mediated immunity. The T lymphocytes mediate CMI very often when some human organs like heart, eye, liver, kidney fail to function satisfactorily. Transplantation is the only remedy to enable the patient to live a normal life. Then a search begins to find a suitable donor. Why that organ cannot be taken from just anybody. What is that the doctors check? Grafts from just any source, an animal, another primate, or any human beings cannot be made since the grafts would be rejected sooner or later. Tissues matching, blood group matching are essential before undertaking any graft transplant, and even after this, patient has to take immunosuppressants of all his or her life. The body is able to differentiate self and non-self, and the cell-mediated and immune response is responsible for graft rejection. Active and passive immunity. When a host is exposed to antigens which may be in the form of living or dead microbe or other protein, antibodies are produced in the host body. This type of immunity is called active immunity. Active immunity is slow and takes time to give its full effective response. Injecting the microbes deliberately during immunization and infectious organism gaining access into body during natural infections induce active immunity. When ready-made antibodies are directly given to protect the body against foreign agents, it is called passive immunity. Do you know why mother's milk is considered very essential for the newborn infant? The yellowish fluid colostrum secreted by mother during the initial days of lactation has abundant antibodies IgA to protect the infant. The fetus also receives some antibodies from their mother through the placenta during pregnancy. These are some examples of passive immunity. Vaccination and immunization. The principle of immunization or vaccination is based on the property of memory of immune system. In vaccination, a preparing of antigenic proteins of pathogen or inactivated or weakened pathogen are introduced into the body. The antibodies produced in the body against these antigens would neutralize the pathogenic agent during actual infection. The vaccines are also generate memory B and T cell that recognize the pathogen quickly or subsequent exposure and overwhelm the invaders with a massive production of antibodies. If a person is infected with some deadly microbes to which quick immune response is required, as in tetanus, we need to directly inject the preformed antibodies or antitoxin, a preparation containing antibodies to the toxin. Even in cases of snake bites, the injection which is given to the patient contained perform antibodies against snake venom. This type of immunization is called passive immunization. Recombinant DNA technology has allowed the production of antigenic polypeptide of pathogen in bacteria or yeast. Vaccine produced using this approach allow large scale production and hence greater availability for immunization. For example, hepatitis B vaccine produced from yeast. Allergies. When you have gone to a new place and suddenly you started sneezing, wheezing, or for no explained reason, and we went away, your symptoms disappeared. Did this happen to you? Some of us are sensitive to some particle in the environment. The above mentioned reaction could be because of allergy of pollen, mites, etc., which are different in different places. The exaggerated response of the immune system to certain antigens present in the environment is called allergy. The substance to which such an immune response is produced are called allergens. The antibodies produced to these are of EGE type. IgE type. Common example of allergens are mites, dust, pollens, animal danders, etc. Symptom allergic reaction include seizing, watery eyes, running nose, and difficulty in breathing. Allergy is due to release of chemicals like histamine, serotonin from the mast cells. For determining the cause of allergy, the patient is exposed to or injected with very small doses of possible allergens, and reaction studies the use of drugs like antihistamine, adrenaline, and steroid quickly reduce the symptom of allergy. Somehow, modern day lifestyle has resulted in lowering of immunity and more sensitivity to allergens. More and more children in metro cities of India suffer from allergies and asthma due to sensitivity to the environment. This could be because of the protected environment provided early in life. So, thanks. The next rest of chapter we will study. So, starting the rest of chapter, there is the next topic, autoimmunity. Memory based acquired immunity evolved in higher vertebrates based on the ability to differentiate foreign organisms, for example, pathogens from self cells. While we still do not understand the basis of this, two corollaries of this ability have to be understood. One, higher vertebrates can distinguish foreign molecules as well as foreign organisms. Most of the experimental immunology deals with these aspects. Two, sometimes due to genetic and other unknown reason, the body attacks self cell. This result in damage to the body and is called autoimmune disease. Rheumatoid arthritis, which affects many people in our society, is an autoimmune disease. Immune system in our body. The human immune system consists of lymphoid organs, tissues, cells, and soluble molecules like antibodies. As you have read, immune system is unique in the sense that it recognizes foreign antigens, responds to these, and remembers them. The immune system also plays an important role in allergic reactions, autoimmune disease, and organ transplantation. Lymphoid organs. These are the organs where origin and maturation and proliferation of lymphocytes occur. The primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus, where immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocytes. After maturation, the lymphocytes migrate to secondary lymphoid organs like spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, pears, patches of small intestine, and appendix. The secondary lymphoid organ provide the sites for interaction of lymphocytes with the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. The location of various lymphoid organs in the human body is shown in figure 7.5. These are lymph nodes. This is thymus. These are lymphatic vessels. The bone marrow is the main lymphoid organ where all blood cells, including lymphocytes, are produced. The thymus is a lobed organ located near the heart and beneath the breastbone. The thymus is quite large at the time of birth but keeps reducing in size with age, and by the time puberty is attained, it reduces to a very small size. Both bone marrow and the thymus provide microenvironments for development and maturation of T lymphocytes. The spleen is the largest bean shaped organ. It mainly contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. It acts as a filter of the blood by trapping blood-borne microorganisms. Spleen also has a large reservoir of erythrocytes. The lymph nodes are small solid uh, structures located at different points along the lymphatic system. Lymph nodes serve to trap the microorganism or other antigens which happen to get into the lymph and tissue fluid. Antigens trapped in the lymph nodes are responsible for the activation of lymphocytes present there and cause the immune response. There is lymphoid tissue also located within the lining of major tracts, respiratory, digestive, and urogenital tracts, called mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue (MALT). It constitutes about 50% of the lymphoid tissue in human body. AIDS. The word AIDS stands for acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. This means deficiency in immune system acquired during the lifetime of an individual, indicating that it is not a congenital area. Syndrome means a group of symptoms. AIDS was first reported in 1981, and in the last 25 years or so it has spread all over the world, killing more than 25 million persons. It is caused by human immunodeficiency virus HIV, a members of a group of viruses called retrovirus, which have an envelope including the RNA genome. Transmission of HIV infection generally occurs by sexual contact with infected person, by transfusion of contaminated blood and blood products, by sharing infected needles as in the case of intravenous drug abusers, and from infected mother to her child through placenta. So people who are at high risk of getting this infection include individuals who have multiple sexual partners, drug addicts who take drugs intravenously, individuals who require repeated blood transfusion, and children born to an HIV infected mother. Do you know when do people need repeated blood transfusion? Find out and make list of such condition. It is important to note that HIV or AIDS is not spread by mere touch or physical contact. It spreads only through body fluids. It is hence imperative for the physical and psychological well-being that HIV/AIDS infected persons are not isolated for family or society. There is always a time lag between the infection and appearance of AIDS symptoms. This period may vary from the few months to many years, usually 5 to 10 years. After getting into the body of the person, the virus enters into macrophages, where RNA genome of the virus replicate to form viral DNA with the help of the enzyme reverse transcriptase. This viral DNA gets incorporated into host cells' DNA and direct the infected cells to produce virus particles. The macrophages continue to produce virus, and in this way acts like HIV factory. Simultaneously, HIV enters into helper T lymphocyte TH replicates and produce progeny viruses. The progeny virus is released in the blood, attack other helper T lymphocytes. This is repeated, leading to a progressive decrease in the number of helper T lymphocytes in the body of the infected person. During this period, the person suffers from bouts of fever, diarrhea, and weight loss. Due to decrease in the number of helper T lymphocytes, the person starts suffering from infection that could have been otherwise overcome, such as those due to bacteria, especially mycobacterium, viruses, fungi, and even parasites like toxoplasma. The patient becomes so immunodeficient that he or she is unable to protect himself or herself against these infections. A widely used diagnostic test for AIDS is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, ELISA. Treatment of AIDS with the antiretroviral drugs is only partially effective. They can only prolong the life of the patient but cannot prevent death, which is inevitable. Prevention of AIDS. As AIDS has no cure, prevention is the best option. Moreover, HIV infection more often is spread due to conscious behavior patterns and is not something that happens inadvertently, like pneumonia or typhoid. Of course, infection in blood transfusion patient, newborns, etc. may take place due to poor monitoring. The only excuse may be ignorance, and it has been rightly said, don't die of ignorance. In our country, the National AIDS Control Organization (NACO) and other non-governmental organization (NGOs) are doing a lot to educate people about AIDS. WHO has started a number of programs to prevent the spreading of HIV infection, making blood safe from HIV, ensuring the use of only disposable needles and syringes in public and private hospitals and clinics, free distribution of condoms, controlling drug abuse, advocating safe sex, and promoting regular checkups for HIV in susceptible populations are some such steps taken up. Infection with HIV or having AIDS is something that should not be hidden. Since then, the infection may spread to many more people. HIV or AIDS infected people need help and sympathy instead of being shunned by society. Unless society recognizes it as a problem to be dealt within a collective manner, the chances of a wider spread of the disease increase manifold. It is a malady that can only be tackled by the society and medical fraternity acting together to prevent the spread of this disease. Cancer. Cancer is one of the most dreaded diseases of human beings and is a major cause of death all over the globe. More than a million of Indians suffer from cancer, and a large number of them die from it annually. The mechanism that underlie development of cancer or oncogenetic genic transformation of cell, its treatment and control have been some of the most intense areas of research in biology and medicine. In our body, cell growth and differentiation is highly controlled and regulated. In cancer cells, there is breakdown of these regulatory mechanism. Normal cells show a property called contact inhibition, by the virtue of which contact with other cells inhibits their uncontrollable growth. Cancer cells appears to have lost this property. As a result of this, cancerous cells just continue to divide, giving rise to masses of cells called tumors. Tumors are of two types: benign and malignant. Benign tumors normally remain confined to their original location and do not spread to other parts of the body and cause little damage. The malignant tumors, on the other hand, are a mass of proliferating cells called neoplastic or tumor cells. These cells grow very rapidly, invading and damaging the surrounding normal tissues. As these cells actively divide and grow, they also starve the normal cells by competing for vital nutrients. Cells slaughtered from these tumors reach distant sites through blood, and wherever they get locked in the body, they start a new tumor there. This property is called metastasis. Is the most feared property of malignant tumor. Causes of cancer: transformation of normal cells into cancerous neoplastic cells may be induced by physical, chemical, biological agents. These agents are called carcinogens. Ionizing radiation like X rays and gamma rays, and non ionizing radiation like UV cause DNA damage, leading to neoplastic transformation. The chemical carcinogens present in tobacco smoke have been identified as major cause of lung cancer. Cancer causing viruses are called oncogenic viruses, have genes called viral oncogenes. Furthermore, several genes are called cellular oncogenes or proto-oncogenes have been identified in normal cells which, when activated under certain condition, could lead to oncogenic genic transformation of the cell. Cancer detection and diagnosis. Early detection of cancer is essential as it allows the disease to be treated successfully in many cases. Cancer detection is based on biopsy and histopathological studies of the tissue and blood and bone marrow test. For increased cell counts in the case of leukemias, in biopsy, a piece of suspected tissue cut into thin sections is stained and examined under microscope. Histopathological studies by a pathologist. Techniques like radiography, use of X-rays, CT, compound tomography, and MRI magnetic resonance imaging are very useful to detect cancer of the integral organs. Computer tomography uses X-rays to generate a three-dimensional image of the internals of an object. MRI uses strong magnetic fields and non-ionizing radiation to accurately detect pathological and physiological changes in the living tissue. Antibodies against cancer-specific antigens are also used for detection of certain cancer. Techniques of molecular biology can be applied to detect genes in with inherited susceptibility to certain cancers. Identification of such genes which predispose an individual to certain cancers may be very helpful in prevention of cancers. Such individuals may be advised to avoid exposure to particular carcinogens to which they are susceptible. Example, tobacco, smoke in case of lung cancer. Treatment of cancer. The common approach for treatment of cancer are surgery, radiation therapy, immunotherapy. In radiotherapy, tumor cells are irradiated lethally, taking proper care of normal tissues surrounding the tumor mass. Several chemotherapeutic drugs are used to kill cancerous cells. Some of these are specific for particular tumors. Majority of drugs have side effects like hair loss, anemia, etc. Most cancers are treated by combination of surgery, radiotherapy, and chemotherapy. Tumor cells have been shown to avoid detection and destruction by immune system. Therefore, the patient are given substances called biological response modifiers such as alpha interferon, which activate their immune system and help in destroying the tumor. Drugs and alcohol abuse. Surveys and statistics show that the use of drugs and alcohol has been on the rise, especially among the youth. This is really a cause of concern and it could result in many harmful effects. Proper education and guidance would enable youth to safeguard themselves against these dangerous behavior patterns and follow healthy lifestyle. The drugs which are commonly abused are opioids, cannabinoids, and alkaloids. Majority of these are obtained from flowering plants. Some are obtained from fungi. Opioids are the drugs which bind to specific opioid receptors present in our central nervous system and gastrointestinal tract. Heroin, commonly called smack, is chemical diacetyl morphine, which is void, odorless, bitter crystalline compound. This is obtained by acetylation of morphine, which is extracted from the latex of poppy plant Papaver somniferum, generally taken by snorting and injection. Heroin is a depressant and slows down body function. Cannabinoids are a group of chemicals which interact with cannabinoid receptor present principally in the brain. Natural cannabinoids are obtained from the inflorescence of plant cannabis sativa. The flower, drops, leaves, and the resin of cannabis plants are used in various combinations to produce marijuana, hashish, charas, ganja, generally taken by inhalation and oral ingestion. These are known for their effects on cardiovascular system of the body. Alkaloid or cocaine is obtained from coca plant Erythroxylum coca native to South America. It interferes with the transport of neurotransmitter dopamine. Cocaine is commonly called coke or crack, is usually snorted. It has potent stimulating action on central nervous system, producing a sense of euphoria and increased energy. Excessive dose of cocaine cause hallucinations. Other well-known plant with hallucinogenic properties are Atropa, belladonna, and datura. These days, cannabinoids are also being abused by some sportsmen sports persons. Drugs like barbiturates, amphetamines, benzodiazepines, and other similar drugs what are normally used as medicine to help patient cope with mental and illness like depression and insomnia. Are often abused. Morphine is a very effective sedative painkiller and is very useful in patients who have undergone surgery. Several plant fruits and seeds have hallucinogenic properties have been used for hundreds of years for folk medicine, religious ceremonies, and ritual all over the globe. When these are taken for a purpose other than medicinal use or in amounts or frequency that impairs one physiological and psychological functions, it constitutes drug abuse. Smoking also paves the way to hard drugs. Tobacco has been used by human beings for more than 400 years. It is smoked, sieved, or used as a snuff. Tobacco contains a large number of chemical substances, including nicotine and alkaloid. Nicotine stimulates adrenal glands to release adrenaline or non-adrenaline into blood circulation, both of which raise blood pressure and increase heart rate. Smoking is associated with increased incidence of cancer of lungs, urinary bladder and throat, bronchitis, emphysema, coronary heart disease, gastric ulcer, etc. Tobacco chewing is associated with increased risk of cancer of the oral cavity. Smoking increases carbon monoxide content in blood and reduces the concentration of heme bound oxygen. This causes oxygen deficiency in the body. When one buys packets of cigarettes, one cannot miss the statutory warning that is present on the packing, which warns against smoking and says how it is injurious to health. Yet, smoking is very prevalent in society, both among young and old. Knowing the dangers of smoking and chewing tobacco and its addictive nature, the youth and old need to avoid these habits. Any addict requires counseling and medical help to get rid of the habit. Adolescence and drug or alcohol use abuse. Adolescence means both a period and process during which a child becomes mature in terms of his or her attitudes and beliefs for effective participation in society. The period between 12 to 18 years may be thought as of adolescent period. In other word, uh, adolescence is a bridge linking childhood and adulthood. Adolescence is accompanied by several biological and behavioral changes. Adolescence, thus, is a very vulnerable phase for mental and physiological, psychological development of an individual. Curiosity, need for adventure and excitement, and experimentation constitute common causes which motivate youngsters toward drug and alcohol use. A child's natural curiosity motivates him or her to experiment. This is complicated further by effect that might be perceived as benefits of alcohol or drug use. Thus, the first use of drugs or alcohols maybe out of curiosity or experimentation. But later, the child started using these to escape facing problems. Of late, stress from pressure in excel in academics or examinations has played a significant role in persuading the youngsters to try alcohol and drugs. The perception among youth that is cool and progressive to smoke, use drugs or alcohol is also in a way a major cause for youth to start these habits. Television, movies, newspaper, internet also help to promote these perception. Other factors that have been seen to be associated with drug and alcohol abuse among adolescents are unstable and unsupportive family structure and peer pressure. Addiction and dependence, because the perceived benefit drugs are frequently used repeatedly, and most important thing which one fail to realize is the inherent and addictive nature of alcohol and drugs. Addiction is a psychological attachment to certain effects such as euphoria and temporary feeling of well-being associated with drug and alcohol. These drive people to take them even when these are not needed, or even when their use becomes self-destructive. With repeated use of drugs, the tolerance level of receptor present in our body increases. Consequently, the receptors respond only to higher doses of drugs or alcohol, leading to greater intact and addiction. However, it should be clearly borne in mind that use of these drugs, even once, can be force runner to addiction. Thus, the addictive potential of drugs and alcohol pull the thus the leading to their regular use from which he or she may not be able to get out. In the absence of any guidance or counseling, the person gets addicted and become dependent on their use. Dependence is the tendency of body to manifest a characteristic and unpleasant withdrawal syndrome if regular dose of drugs or alcohol is abruptly discontinued. This is characterized by anxiety, shakiness, nausea, and sweating, which may be relieved when use is resumed again. In some cases, withdrawal symptoms can be severe and even life threatening, and the person may need medical supervision. Dependence led to patient to ignore all social norms in order to get sufficient funds to satiate his or her needs. These result in many social adjustment problems. Effects of drug or alcohol abuse. The immediate adverse effects of drugs and alcohol abuse are manifested in the form of reckless behavior, vandalism, and violence. Excessive doses of drugs may lead to coma and death due to respiratory failure, heart failure, or cerebral hemorrhage. A combination of drugs or their intake along with alcohol generally results in overdosing and even deaths. The most common warning signs of drug and alcohol abuse among youth include drop in academic performance, unexplained absence from school or college, lack of interest in personal hygiene, withdrawal, isolation, depression, fatigue, aggressive and rebellious behavior, deterioration, relationship with family and friends, loss of interest in hobbies, change in sleeping and eating habits, fluctuations in weight, appetite, etc. There may even be some far-reaching implication of drug or alcohol abuse. If an abuser is unable to get money to buy drugs or alcohol, he or she may turn to stealing. The adverse effects are just not restricted to the person who is using drugs or alcohol. At times, a drug or alcohol addict becomes the cause of mental and financial distress of to his or her entire family and friends. Those who take drugs intravenously means that direct injection into the vein using a needle and a syringe are much more likely to acquire serious infection like AIDS and hepatitis B. The viruses which are responsible for these diseases are transferred from one person to another by sharing of infected needles and syringes. Both AIDS and hepatitis B infections are chronic infection and ultimately fatal. Both can be transmitted through sexual contact or infected blood. The use of alcohol during adolescence may also have long-term effect. It could lead to heavy drinking in adulthood. The chronic use of drugs and alcohol damages nervous system and liver cirrhosis. The use of drugs and alcohol during pregnancy is also known to adversely affect the fetus. Another misuse of drug is what certain sports person do to enhance their performation. They misuse narcotic analgesics, anabolic steroids, diuretics, and certain hormones in sport to increase muscle strength and bulk and to promote aggressiveness and as a result increase athletic performance. The side effect of the use of anabolic steroids in female include masculinization features like males, increased aggressiveness, mood swing, depression, abnormal menstrual cycles, excessive hair growth on the face and body, enlargement of clitoris, deepening of eyes. In males, it includes acne, increased aggressiveness, mood swings, depression, reduction of size of the testicles, decreased sperm production, a potential for kidney and liver dysfunction, breast enlargement, premature baldness, enlargement of prostate gland. These effects may be permanent with the prolonged use. In the adolescent, males or female, severe facial and body acne and premature closure of the growth centers of the long bones may result in stunted growth. Prevention and control. The old, the age old adages of prevention is better than cure holds true here also. It is also true that habits such as smoking, taking drugs, or alcohols are more likely uh, to be taken up at a young age, more during adolescence. Hence, it is best to identify the situations that may push an adolescent toward use of drugs or alcohol and to take remedial measures well in time. In this regard, the parents and the teachers have a special responsibility. Parenting that combines the with high level of nurturance and consistent discipline has been associated with lowered risk of substance alcohol drugs or tobacco abuse. Some of the measures mentioned here would be particularly useful for prevention of control of alcohol and drugs abuse among adolescents. First is avoid undue peer pressure. Second is education and counseling. Third is seeking help from parents and peers. Fourth is looking for danger signs. Fifth is seeking professional and medical help. And then is the summary. Thanks for watching.